And we're kicking off today with AEW as CM Punk's tenure with the promotion has come to an end. In a statement on Twitter, AEW announced that Punk has been fired with immediate effect, with the announcement reading, "All Elite Wrestling has terminated the wrestler and employment agreements between Phillip Brooks, CM Punk, and AEW with cause, effective immediately. The termination was confirmed today by Tony Khan, CEO, General Manager, and Head of Creative of AEW. In case there was any doubt, the statement made clear that the decision was made following an investigation into an incident, presumably the one with Jack Perry at All In. Following the investigation, the AEW Discipline Committee met with outside legal counsel to discuss things before recommending that Tony Khan terminate Punk with cause. Sure enough, Khan made the decision to cut Punk from the company, and the announcement also included this from Khan himself. "Phil played an important role with AEW, and I thank him for his contributions. The termination of his AEW contracts with cause is ultimately my decision and mine alone." Khan expressed remorse that he had to make this call, understanding that it would disappoint some fans, but said he did this with the people backstage's best interests in mind. Following the announcement, Khan addressed both the live crowd in Chicago at AEW Collision, as well as the fans watching with interest from home. Khan said in a video statement that he feared for his life backstage at All In, as it's been reported that monitors were thrown in his direction during the altercation. He added that this decision was one of the most difficult in his professional career, and confirmed that the incident with Perry led to Punk's release. He added, "I've been going to wrestling shows for over 30 years. I've been producing them on this network for nearly 4 years. Never in all that time have I felt, until last Sunday, that my security, my safety, my life was in danger at a wrestling show. I don't think anybody should feel that way at work. I don't think the people I work with should feel that way, and I had to make a very difficult choice today." Khan again apologized to the fans and anyone else upset about Punk's departure, and a video posted to Twitter also shows Khan addressing the live crowd to boos and chants. The fans certainly had the chance to make their voices heard, but what do those in AEW make of Punk's release? Well, according to PW Insider, the view behind the scenes is mixed. Their report suggests that some people backstage at AEW are unhappy about the move, while others feel it was the right decision and are happy about it. Others, meanwhile, are just happy that a decision has been made about CM Punk, with the belief that the company can at last move forward and move past this situation. Fightful Select reports that Punk was fired as an employee, not just as a wrestler, so he won't be keeping any roles on or off screen now that his contract has been terminated. It's currently unknown if there was any sort of severance or non-compete attached to said contract, as is often the case when someone from WWE is released. Speaking of WWE, it shouldn't be a surprise that there is speculation Punk could try and make the jump, as WWE will be the only company around to afford his asking price. Sources in WWE who spoke to Fightful, though, said that they didn't expect AEW to release Punk, and thus had no expectation of signing Punk to a WWE deal. It was noted that Punk still has heat with several high-level individuals in WWE, and we doubt his backstage actions over the past year have convinced WWE execs to offer him a deal. Punk may not be appearing on an episode of Raw in your hometown anytime soon, but his release from AEW proved to be a huge talking point backstage at Payback. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful said that Punk's firing was heavily discussed backstage, and one superstar even decided to poke fun at Punk's exit on social media. After Grayson Waller was attacked by Jey Uso at Payback, the Australian took to Twitter to say that Jey attacked him unprovoked on Waller's own show and demanded Jey be fired. In case fans didn't pick up on this being a nod to Punk, Waller was soothing his jaw with a can of Pepsi and made sure fans saw the logo of the cola brand associated with CM Punk. Fightful's report confirmed that Punk had been set to headline All Out against Ricky Starks, which would have seen Punk's Real World Championship on the line. Instead, Starks will now face the returning Bryan Danielson, whose return to competition was a closely guarded secret within the company. It was only yesterday that reports came out stating Bryan may be ready in time for next month's Wrestle Dream, but that it would be a photo finish decision. Fightful also reports that the AEW roster, including talent close to Punk, were unaware of his impending firing, so this too was a closely guarded matter behind the scenes. Other details reported by Fightful include that CM Punk signs were being confiscated ahead of last night's Collision, but it's unclear if they were pro or against the released wrestler. While fan signs were not allowed, Cash Wheeler crossed his arms on Collision in the manner that Punk does, seemingly in a sign of support with the Chicago-made star. It's no secret that Punk and FTR were close, with Wheeler and Harwood often going to bat for Punk following the events of last year's infamous All Out event. We also know that Warner Bros. Discovery has been speaking with AEW as to where Collision goes from here, given that Punk was the show's very top star. There hasn't been any recent repairs in the relationship between Punk and the Elite, and as of this moment, Jack Perry has not been terminated from All Elite Wrestling. Stay tuned to Slat Rock Wrestling for more, but what did you think about the decision? Sound off in the comments below. Next up, WWE Payback 2023. We're starting off with Becky Lynch as the Man came to Pittsburgh and made good on her word as she dispatched WWE Hall of Famer Trish Stratus in a thrilling steel cage match. It was a hard-hitting match that left both women with physical reminders and included 2 jaw-dropping spots, a superplex from the top of the cage, and an avalanche manhandle slam, the second of which earned Lynch the victory. That was what fans should have gotten at SummerSlam, but in hindsight, it may have been better that it took place at Payback. While it is not the stage that the Summertime Spectacular is, Payback provided the women more time and a brighter spotlight than they would have received back in August. There wasn't a lot of cage climbing early, but then they did it towards the end of the match. Stratus's first steel cage match was one her body will not forget, as she sported a huge knot on her forehead while bruises and welts decorated her arms. Trish used the Widow's Peak during the match. This was such a cool tribute to Victoria, who was her friend and one of her greatest rivals. Sure, Stratus and Lynch's feud dragged on a bit too long, and the storyline accompanying it never really matched the magnitude of 2 of the most influential women in wrestling history competing against each other, but the culmination made up for it all. This is awesome chants by fans were truly justified, as this was a legitimate Match of the Year candidate, and something both women should be immensely proud of. The post-match events saw Stratus berate Zoe Stark before being left lying in the center of the ring by the future champion. Should nicely segue the heel mentor out of her program with Lynch and into a feud with her protege. Another highlight of the match that didn't involve Lynch and Stratus was the presence of NXT Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany watched the match from ringside, continuing the story that there is not enough competition on Tuesdays. Becky Lynch was interviewed by Kathy Kelly about Becky finally being done with Trish Stratus. Before Lynch could say much, NXT Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton arrived to say that she apologized for saying Lynch was a former NXT Women's Champion, since Lynch never won the title before. Lynch had a Barbie reference for Stratton. Lynch told Stratton to focus on her title defense on Tuesday, and Lynch said maybe she'll see her soon. That sounds like the start of a new rivalry. John Cena made his entrance to a huge pop with the fans cheering and screaming for him. Cena, who was the host of Payback 2023, made himself the special guest referee in a match between The Miz and LA Knight. Prior to their match, Cena would trade verbal barbs with his former rival Miz, and then introduce Knight so the match could begin. LA Knight defeated The Miz, and that was exactly what was needed for the massively over babyface, who is currently in the midst of a run as hot as anyone has experienced all year in WWE. To top it off, the company booked John Cena as the special referee, thereby eliminating any concerns about the company's recognition of Knight as a star. There were a few teases of Cena inadvertently costing Knight and obvious interactions between him and The Miz, but for the most part, he stayed out of the action and let the competitors have the stage. When he did directly involve himself, it was after the match, at the top of the aisle, as he extended his hand to Knight in a sign of respect. Being overheard saying, "Your moment, man," Cena walked away and left Knight to do his signature point and catchphrase for the crowd again before the end of the segment. The crowd was red hot for Knight, the commentary team did a great job of putting him over, and the acknowledgement from Cena was exactly the exclamation point this segment needed. This guy is not the future of WWE, he is the here and now, and the company would have to be oblivious not to recognize it. That does not necessarily mean a world title reign, but it should absolutely make him a focal point of high-profile stories and feuds. Austin Theory challenged Rey Mysterio Saturday night for the United States Championship he once held. Despite a focused effort, he was unsuccessful in regaining the title that, for the past year, defined him. Mysterio fended off the challenge of the young phenom, ultimately countering A-Town down and stacking the heel up for the pinfall victory. it was a solid match that the crowd really didn't get into that much, except for a few of Rey's signature moves. That counter by Rey into the pinfall sitting on top of Theory was a creative move by Rey as usual. It wasn't as impactful of an ending as it could have been had Rey won with a finisher. It felt more like a TV match. Post-match, the LWO celebrated with Mysterio, showing no signs of tension between the group and their leader. Now the question is, where does Theory go from here? One would not think that Triple H and the creative team would allow him to fade into obscurity on SmackDown, given all of the effort that we've seen go into building his star over the last year. Perhaps he's the next foil for LA Knight? If that's the case, he better work on his promos and sounding more natural because, as things stand now, he'd get smoked on the mic by the megastar. Beyond that potential showdown, barring a series of needless rematches, it is difficult to forecast exactly where he fits in at this particular time. Cole compared Theory's rise to Randy Orton's, as both were young stars with a tremendous upside who enjoyed meteoric pushes early on. Is this a valid comparison? Only time will tell. Who do you think LA Knight's next opponent should be? Sound off in the comments below. Now, Payback 2023 also saw the Grayson Waller effect featuring Cody Rhodes. The American Nightmare hit the ring, took a shot at Waller's relative newness despite his abundance of confidence, and revealed that he pulled some strings to bring a new superstar to Raw, Jey Uso. From there, the former tag champ basked in the audience's reaction and proceeded to drop Waller with a super kick. It was the big moment the show needed and something the social media team could hang its hat on, but it would have been nice to see more of an interaction between Rhodes and Uso. Sure, that's likely to come as soon as Monday's Raw, but considering Rhodes essentially gave Uso's career new life despite their recent history, it would have been nice to see even the smallest acknowledgement. For now, Rhodes stepped aside and gave Uso the spotlight. What it means moving forward should make for some intriguing creative and add to what is expected to be a journey back to the WrestleMania main event for the American Nightmare as he seeks to finish his story. After 4 months of frustrating results, the Judgment Day finally got the best of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens as Damian Priest and Finn Bálor captured the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship, though not without a little help from their friends. In a wild, chaotic Match of the Year candidate Steel City street fight, the heels benefited from interference from Dominic Mysterio, Rhea Ripley, and JD McDonough to emerge victoriously. The crowd was hot, the action was non-stop, and the fact that there were big spots and vivid imagery elevated it. From Owens diving off the balcony with a swanton bomb that drove Mysterio through a table, and the champs donning Pittsburgh Penguins gear to unleash a beatdown, this one had something for everyone. The screwjob finish puts heat on the heels, gives the babyfaces an out for losing, and allows the company to revisit the feud as soon as Monday's Raw if it so pleases. Great stuff here and the quality of match that you hope for given the talent and the stipulation. A few top moments and takeaways. Zayn and Owens incorporated odes to the late Terry Funk early, and the prizefighter sported a shirt featuring the Hall of Famer throughout. The visual of Owens bleeding, wearing hockey gear, and stalking after his opponents was great. It will be an internet meme. Owens exclaimed, "Come on, b***." He sported a crimson mask on his forehead and caught kicks from Bálor was a fantastic moment from a defiant champion. The spear from Ripley to Owens through the timekeeper's position was a risky spot given the fact that she is in the semi-main event. Priest is going to be mentioned in at least 2 Match of the Year candidates at the end of the year, and that is not talked about enough. He's having a career year. How do you rate this match? Sound off in the comments below. Rhea Ripley has been the most physical competitor in the women's division in 2023, as evidenced by her WrestleMania Classic against Charlotte Flair, and Saturday's Payback War of Attrition with Raquel Rodriguez. Ripley narrowly escaped an absolute battle, bleeding from the nose, and withstanding an arsenal of rare opponents who could match her power. Rodriguez tested her in a way no one has thus far in her title reign, and that will go a long way in propping the second-generation star up in the eyes of fans. Triple H and the creative team still have considerable work to do in order to get fans to invest in Rodriguez emotionally and genuinely care about her, but performances such as this one will go a long way in expediting the process. There were a few spots late that did not go according to plan, but the combatants recovered nicely and delivered a hot finish that protected Rodriguez and continued the narrative of the Judgment Day cheating like hell to accomplish their goals and achieve dominance. Ripley's gear paid homage to the late great Chyna. This is a reminder that the ninth wonder of the world is one of the greatest and most influential stars of her generation and earned a spot in the Hall of Fame for her own achievements, not just as a member of D-Generation X. There were considerable expectations for the World Heavyweight Championship match between Seth Rollins and Shinsuke Nakamura on Saturday night, based solely on the skill levels of the superstars involved, and it did not disappoint. WWE Hall of Famer The Great Muta sat ringside and was acknowledged as a great inspiration for Nakamura. That, coupled with a special anime entrance, certainly made this feel like the night WWE may put the title on the artist. Rollins and Nakamura had, like so many other matches on this card, a physical battle. Nakamura targeted the injured back of Rollins that had been established in vignettes and nearly put him away with a Kinshasa to the back of the head. Rollins, the gritty champion, fought through it all to deliver the stomp and retained his title. There was nothing flashy here, nor was there a massive storyline development. It was a very good match that paid off for the first chapter of the program, while still managing to present Nakamura as a legitimate threat that is far from finished with the Visionary. This very much feels like a program destined to continue, and the manner in which the challenger was presented moments after losing, a look of anger painting his face, suggests we may see Nakamura sink deeper into darkness to achieve his goal. What did you think about the overall pay-per-view? Sound off in the comments below.